Hi, welcome back to another episode of Life with Marisol. I'm really trying to be more consistent with posting every Wednesday. I am starting classes July 1st for accounting. Our puppy is fully vaccinated, so we can finally start taking him out. But on top of that, I also have a second interview for a job that I'm trying to get tomorrow. So today I actually kind of woke up and I didn't want to record. I felt unmotivated. I felt like I just kind of, oh, well, I don't have to post this week. It's up to me. And I challenge you to get out of that mindset if you're trying to be consistent with either posting content, starting a new hobby. But instead I decided that I'm gonna do my makeup and I'm gonna get ready for the day. My hair is a bit awful, so bear with me on that. I want to chop it off so bad, but I don't have that in the budget yet. I might just like chop off my own hair. I'm trying not to be impulsive like that because I want it to turn out right. Because when you have short hair, it is crucial to have a good cut. You can get away with stuff when you have long hair, but I also think that I came to the slick back bun rather late because I have been enjoying doing it. I see why it's so popular to do. It's really easy to just gel it, get a good brush. I honestly didn't master it until like the past year. I have been more of a boho chic girly, having more messy waves, my wavy hair, which has caused me to be rather lazy, I think. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this week's episode. It's part 5 of our series of how to be sexy, and I think that I'm actually going to start another series, a more visual one of me doing the things that can help you feel sexy physically. For instance, I have a lash lift appointment. I'm doing that for the first time. I have a facial schedule, just all these things to get me ready before I start classes. That's like the physical aspect. This whole series is about what I think it means to be sexy, not just who you are in the bedroom. I think that's a very limited way of thinking. So this week is about having hobbies, getting off your phone, getting off from your couch, and going out and doing the things you say you're going to do. You need to have a life outside of your couch because then your life can become interesting when you actually do things. And this is going to be a very generic episode. It's not going to be super expensive things, super cheap things to do. It's more about the aspect of actually getting yourself to do it and what that means that happens whenever you start to build that social life. We've already talked about building friendships. Now I'm talking about how to be consistent in you having hobbies. How can you essentially get a life? I struggled with having a life. And that feels really embarrassing to say out loud, but there were times when I didn't have money and I didn't feel like I had the funds to have friendships, which is a crazy, crazy aspect to acknowledge. Can you have friends if you're broke, if you're poor, or do you only need friends when you have money to spend? And then that goes into what type of friendships you want. We've already kind of gotten into that. But I have analyzed my life and wondered, can I do this? Can I make friends if I'm a full-time college student trying to also juggle my hobbies, right? I usually have to take a step back and really realize what my priorities are. And for a lot of that time, I had my sisters there to be there as, emotional supportive family members. But I don't have that anymore since I've cut off all of my sisters. And I only bring that up because that is such a big loss to go through. If you're somebody who's listening who has a close sister whom you trust, who is actually a good person, then I congratulate you for that and want you not to let that go. That was not in my situation. And I'm only transparent about that because having that type of loss has really shifted where my priorities are. I love girl talk. I love talking about, girly topics. And I try to talk about it with my husband, but it's not the same. It's a separate conversation I can have with him. I can force him to do facials with me, but when I go out with a girlfriend, with a friend that I trust, I feel like I can really be myself. I believe that girl talk is super crucial to our development as women, and it's important to invest in those friendships. So how do you invest in those friendships? We've already talked about trying to understand how much of your energy and time you can give into these situations. But instead, this week, I want to talk about what you really can do. And I've already kind of mentioned some events that you can do. I've mentioned flying kites, having a weekly girl dinner, weekly potluck event where you host, talk about, if your friend has kids, going with them to parks, trying to be involved with them. So right now we're at the point where if you do have the energy, you do have the money, you do have this motivation, like I want to make friends. I want to have a life. I want to wake up and not dread what the day ahead is. I don't want to wait for the weekend. Or even I want to have plans for the weekend because I haven't had plans in a while. And I get that. I really do. For a moment there, I was having like no social contact. This was like before I met my husband, who has definitely been a lifeboat for me. But before I met him, I was in a place where I was really trying to make friends. And a lot of the times, the only activities that the women I was meeting were wanting to do drugs and drink. And I totally get the normalization of drugs and alcohol. It's there. It's not even the elephant in the room. I think that we have to acknowledge that because I think that when you want to build community, when you want to build a life, you don't want to forget about it. Meaning, you don't want to completely get shit faced and forget about what happened the night before. That's not sexy to me. I see that and I'm like, you know what? That's cool when you're fucking 20, 21, sure. But if you're like me, 28 years old, and you have to get blackout drunk periodically in order to feel like your life can be worth something, then those are deep problems to acknowledge. And that's what I'm talking about. You can do whatever you want as long as it's safe, is all I'm going to say about drugs and alcohol. So, with these hobbies, with these events, do what you will at your own risk. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so I kind of want to talk about what I like to do. So, I like to learn. And now creating has been a big hobby of mine that I've been pretty consistent with. A lot of the times I kind of overload my plate. I'll do school, work, relationship. There's now a puppy. There's all these things being jumbled together. And sometimes I like to turn off my brain. And I know that that is such a privileged way to live. I will acknowledge that. But it's so nice to just kind of stop thinking because I think so much. I think about content. I think about, oh, I have a homework assignment due. I need to do reading for this. We're gonna go like socialize. I need to have conversation. Like I need to communicate with people. I need to talk. I need this energy out of me that eventually like my cup goes empty. That's what I'm talking about. And I need to refill my cup. That's what's sexy. Refilling your cup. So sometimes I watch really bad TV shows. Honorable mention, I did watch Sweet Magnolias, but that has become unbearably awful to to sit through. It was actually hurting me to watch. I like watching TV. I do. I almost think that I may have like an addiction to it. That might be like one of my big vices because I'm such a big movie buff. For the longest time, like growing up, I was grounded a lot, and the only thing that I was really allowed to do was watch TV. That was like a lot of me building cultural references in my personality was due to a lot of the movies. And I even have like a top 20 movie list because I think it's really hard to try to figure out what your favorite movie is when you watch so much cinema, when you watch so much film. So I've created a top 20 list. So let me know if you're interested in hearing about that. But Ginny and Georgia, I watched that. I have rewatched Sex and the City so much that I have to kind of wait a couple years, especially because I've seen a lot of deep dives about it. So I just need to have some space. But I watched Girls for the first time last year, and that was actually life changing. Every single episode was absolutely beautiful, and I encourage every single woman to watch that. So for me, I think about hobbies as, okay, is this a show that I need to watch on my own for alone time? Am I in the mood to watch a movie with my husband? House of Dragon is coming out next Sunday, or like this Sunday. I'm so excited about that. That's on our list of shows that we watch together. That's what I did growing up with my sisters. We watched a lot of movies. That's bonding to me. I have different levels of my headspace with watching films. Whenever I want to do like a girls' night, a lot of the times I have friends who don't watch movies. I don't know why that is. They're more active. So I would like to find friends where you can enjoy the same shows together. And that could be a way to be consistent with people in your life because I know that a lot of people still like watch TV. I'm not the only one. So I remember like back in the day, like there was a lot of bachelor watch parties. You could still do that with like Love Island. I don't watch Love Island, but I see clips about it enough to where, okay, a lot of people are super interested in this. So, like, when you're trying to be building your own life, do you want hobbies to just be social, or do you want solo hobbies? Or do you want a mixture of both? And that's where I would put film. Film would be a mixture of, you could do it solo, you could do it with friends, family. It just depends on your mindset, on your what you're feeling. And I think that a good way to be consistent with that is to do watch parties, as I mentioned. I think that it's about to be summer. And I don't know about you, but I live in an apartment. So we have an apartment pool. It's pretty nice. We have had some barbecue summer parties at the complex, but so, like, that's something else that you could be interested in. I don't think a lot of people like use their pool a lot of the times. They kind of just wait, but if you want to have a friend or two with you and you make a lunch date out of it, that could be a fun thing to do in the summer to just tan. Again, that could also be a solo hobby to do where you kind of just sit with yourself. You read a book, you tan if you want, SPF. You keep yourself busy or you do absolutely nothing. I think that sometimes we put too much pressure on the kind of hobbies that we want to enjoy. And there's no pressure. No one is asking you to have 5 million hobbies. All right. Nobody is expecting anything from you. What are you expecting from yourself? Are you wanting super niche hobbies? Because let me tell you, there's a couple things that I have been super interested in checking out. There's this Spanish program where you could go to Mexico for about like a week or two, or you go to Spain and you immerse yourself into the environment, and it's supposedly way easier to learn a new language. You could do that with, depending the language and country that you want to go to. Tell me that that's not awesome to try out. There was also another one I saw where you could learn to surf by spending, I think it was like 2 weekends in California, like spending a week in California, and you are kind of like living out of a van with a bunch of like other people in their own vans, and you do like a nighttime campfire site. So like if you want to be adventurous, like, there's so many different cool solo trips, or you could have your partner go with you where you could really expand your palette. But not everybody wants to learn to surf. I like the idea of surfing, but then like actually going to the water, I don't know if I want to actually do it. It kind of freaks me out. But I would do the immersive experience. So it's kind of just, where do you want yourself to be with your hobbies? What do you expect from yourself? And I think that that's why I included this in my How to Be Sexy series, because figuring out that question alone, what hobbies do you like? What do you like? What do you want? What do you want to look like? What do you want to be? What do you want to fix or not fix? Because that implies that you're broken. You're not broken. You're just trying to build a social life. So really, it's just, what do you want? And maybe even taking out a piece of paper and writing down things that you've either always wanted to do or hobbies that you miss doing, hobbies that you did as a kid, and really try to make those hobbies a reality based off of the list that you wrote out. Like, for instance, I loved reading as a kid. I love painting, art. I've taken so many art classes, but I haven't actually perfected the craft. I haven't actually been consistent with it. It was just kind of, hey, let me do about 6 canvases over a span of like 6 months. Okay, I'm kind of over it, and I'm going to work on something else. Because I think that we also forget that you don't have to do your hobby every single day. You don't have to do it even every year. It depends what hobby you're talking and working on. I don't think that you need to spend a lot of money to have hobbies, to try to build your social life, to have this summer energy that you can try to brag about on Instagram, okay? If you take out all of the standards, the expectations that you're putting on yourself from strangers, there could be a really big weight that's lifted. Maybe you're a bit of an introvert. I get that. I am a mixture of both. I can be super extroverted for like a day, and then I don't want to talk to anybody for like 3 days. Like, I have like a big cup that I pour from. And once it's out, like, it takes me that long to rebuild the cup, to refill the cup. And maybe refilling it can be a little controversial because I do like to watch TV and kind of go into this mind numbing state. Even though I do agree that we need less screen time. We do. Even though I'm asking you to watch me. We need less screen time. We need to be mindful of how much time that we waste watching other people do things. Because I don't know about you, but one reason that helped motivate me to continue to start posting content was that I have watched the most pointless videos online. I have watched people coloring. I have watched people pouring, it's like a sand mixture. I have watched people do like a cursive where they here give me your initials and they write out like six different ways to spell out the letter. And I don't know why, but I really enjoy watching that kind of stuff. But then I was like, wait, why don't I just do that? Why am I watching somebody color? I have coloring books and I can get more coloring books. So I did. I got coloring books and started to color while I was watching TV. So I bring up watching TV a lot because there were moments where last year my like nervous system was shot and it was really hard for me to leave my apartment for longer than an hour. I finally went on an out of state trip like last month. In the last like 6 months of me trying to recover. No, like six. Oh my God, it's been like a year. It took me almost a year to do an out of state trip out of my apartment, which sounds psychotic, but that's just, I wasn't trying to rush this process. This was a big deal for me. So I watched TV, but then I would reflect and think about how much I felt like a piece of shit just watching TV. Like, how can I be productive by having TV on? So I started knitting. And I remember I was watching some like serial killer movies, like some like mind hunter stuff, some Criminal Minds, and like it really helped with my anxiety because I would just knit and I would like the more I would be kind of anxious or feeling a little, I don't know, like not nerve wracking, but just a little anxious of what I'm watching, I would just like kind of knit faster and I would just be fucking knitting. And I end up coming out with like a super long scarf because I only know one pattern that I've worked on. It was more the fact of, okay, let me just like learn to do this motion. And I felt better about that. Or I started using coloring books while watching some shows, and that would also help me feel a little at ease. Listening to music, I would still do the same. And I think that for some of us, I'll say for me, sometimes it feels like a chore to do hobbies. And I don't know why that is. It feels like I'm almost cosplaying being somebody who does hobbies. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but like it's okay, I know that I should do a hobby, right? I should be creative. Let me do my coloring book. Okay, I've colored 2 pages, check. What else do I have in my arsenal of hobbies to do? Okay, let me knit. Okay, well, maybe how I'm feeling, maybe I should start baking. And I would just go through them and not actually enjoy them. Yeah, I wouldn't. I would just rather have them on my to-do list. And I don't think that that's the point of hobbies. I don't think that that's the right mindset to have with hobbies. That's why it's important to have hobbies that you do actually enjoy, hobbies that you do want to look forward to. And honestly, right now, having something to look forward to is incredibly important. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think it's important to develop a personality. It's important to develop characteristics that you want to have. And that's where I can see hobbies coming into play. Because for a lot of us, we're all chronically online, and there's a whole thing about how people kind of speak to each other using online phrases a lot of the time. And if someone who isn't chronically online with you doesn't understand your reference, it's like, okay, well, I can't really reference a lot of what I've seen on the internet. What else do I have? And like that's where we're locking in on. What else do you have? Because you're not a loser if you're not investing in your hobbies. There's a multitude of reasons why you're taking a break. It could be I can't afford to go to the movies all the time. Maybe you have kids and now it's summer and you have to really invest in the time of keeping your kids preoccupied. And I get that, maybe you have to take a step back on what you were working on. For a while there, my husband and I, we were doing puzzles. And I don't really remember why we got into it, but we were doing puzzles. And there were like 5,000 pieces. Like we really jumped into it. And we still have some. We have like the ones we really like, kind of hanging as decor, but we would actually like stop talking to each other while we were working on the puzzles. And for like a second there, I would like kind of realize like, wait, we haven't like spoken to each other in like 10, like 20, 30 minutes. And it was fine. We were just enjoying that time with each other. But we haven't done that. We were going to Barnes and Nobles for our puzzles, and they like discontinued the brand that we were using. They replaced it with another one. And we felt really weird about it, but we bought the new brand's puzzle. We were just so uninterested in it. We had it on our coffee table. At the time, our coffee table was the exact length and width of the puzzle, which was really satisfying whenever we finished it, but it just was not the same. And we kind of just let it sit there for like a month and a half. And eventually I like lost it. It was like, we're not going to work on this. I'm going to put it away. Right now it just looks like junk. It's collecting dust. It's just dumb. We just need to put this away. And we haven't really done a puzzle since. That doesn't take away the fact that we've done puzzles. You don't, when you meet new people and you're introducing yourself, it doesn't have to be like, hey, somebody asks you, tell me about yourself. And you panic. You're like, oh, okay, what's like the coolest, smartest thing that I could say? What am I working on? Like, it's so much pressure. She's like, hey, what do you like to do? I could say I like to do puzzles. Do I do puzzles every day? No. Do I do them every month? No. But that doesn't change the fact that I like puzzles. Does that make sense? Because maybe you feel guilty that you stopped doing a hobby because you lost interest, but you could either use that guilt to get back into the hobby, or you just accept that like that was a phase and that happened. That's what you were interested in at the time. Oftentimes, why it's so easy to be chronically online is because of the instant gratification that we do get from scrolling. And it's almost the fact that we don't have to put any effort into getting this gratification. And that's why a lot of hobbies are ruined or ignored. Just kind of quit doing the hobbies because it's the challenge isn't fun. And I think that that's just the wrong hobby that you need to work on, because sometimes the challenge really can be the best part. Like take this for instance, this video, this whole concept of me talking about how I believe it's sexy to work on your personality, to work on your hobbies, to invest in yourself. I think that that's sexy. Does it take me time to build this idea? Does it take me time to film, to edit, to add graphics, sounds, check the quality, because my quality really sucked for the first few episodes and I finally fixed it. And I'm so happy I finally fixed it. And every time I think about how I don't want to do something, I have been referring back to this episode, Amy Poehler's podcast, the one that she did with Steve Carell, because essentially I learned about background of Steve Carell, so now you will as well. But he didn't go into like Hollywood thinking like this is what you wanted to do. Like he didn't grow up thinking this is what he wanted to do. He went to college at like Ohio State, I believe, and his like girlfriend at the time made him go to like a show, and it turns out to be this like improv group, and he sees them and he gets this like inspiration. He's like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. That's what I want to be. How do I do that? And eventually it took him up to like 10 years to get where he was in Hollywood, where we knew him from that point. And that's what ends up motivating me to continue doing anything that I want to do. But for instance, to doing this podcast, to doing content creation, that it takes about 10 years for someone to be that overnight success that you see them in. Because if you watch a movie, there'll be an actor that is super big right now, and you see them in a movie that was like 10 years ago. It was a cameo. They were an extra. They weren't the main cast. And you're like, oh my God, that's what's his face. That's what's her face. Like that's what's inspiring to me. So I know that my 10 years have started, if that makes sense. 10 years from now, this is where I want to be. I want to be successful. I want to have these certain things on my vision board. And I know that the sooner that I start, the sooner that 10 years ends, the sooner that I could reach that goal. And that's the entire process. I wouldn't have figured out how to really fix the whole video quality, audio quality, unless I was being consistent with it. That's what I find fun. And like I mentioned at the beginning, I didn't really want to do this today. I have been trying to figure out the direction of how I want this to be set up for whenever I start school. How will I have time to build a script? How can I build a script, look at my laptop and look at my phone? How can I make this better? And that's what's fun to me. And I'm realizing that I'm trying to do more improv, more give me a topic and let me just spit fire about it because that's what I'm good at. I'm good at talking. I'm good at talking for a long time. And I enjoy it. I enjoy having the inflections in my voice to describe the story. I love sharing stories. And I want you to feel that way about whatever hobby you're thinking of. You don't have to be a master at it, but I want you to find that spark where this is something that I'm looking forward to. This is something that I can see myself being consistent with. Like we already said, you can have hobbies that have fell off and you pick up. There's nothing wrong with that. But I guess this episode is about challenging you to find the one hobby that you can really pour yourself into. Because I don't know about you, but earlier, what really made me get off my couch temporarily was okay, I was scrolling. I'm like, this feels dumb. Like I know I could be making my own video. And I was watching a show. I'm like, I don't really care about this show. So I was doing both simultaneously. And then I was like scrolling on Pinterest. I was like, oh my, what am I doing? Like, I'm just like wasting this free time for why? Like, I wasn't getting anything out of it. And for me, when I start to feel kind of down, when I feel like I'm not doing enough, because I feel like I just struggle with that on a day to day basis. But whenever I feel like I'm not doing enough, then I feel like, okay, where's my check marks? Let's check our mental health check marks, right? Do I need to go for a walk? Have I eaten? Have I drank water? Have I created something? And that could be baking or cooking. It could be making a TikTok if you're into that. It could be coloring in a coloring book. Like you don't have to be a major artist to want to create art. You don't have cooking is considered well, cooking baking is considered science, but cooking is art in my opinion. I'm rambling. My point is, when you do those mental checks, that is super important to figuring out what you should do next. And if all of those are checked, if you've eaten, had water, you went for a walk, okay, now I need you to create something. Now I need you to do something that's for you, that's filling your cup. Whether that's taking your dog out and teaching them a new trick, because dogs are also hobbies, honestly. I know that we love them as family, but they are also hobbies. You are always going to be training them. Hang out with your cat. You can do laundry and also listen to a podcast that you haven't listened to in a while. You don't have to always do something. There's also meditation where you do nothing and learn to relax. But I just mean you don't have to try to keep yourself busy for the sake of it. Keep yourself busy because you enjoy what you are working on. And with that, I would say that concludes this episode of Life with Marisol. There's only a couple more episodes of this series, and then I'm gonna kind of be doing more improv. I think that I have really been inspired by Amy Poehler, even Steve Carell now, but specifically Amy Poehler and Tina Fey have been my inspirations for years, and I think that I need to really start investing in this part of myself. So I would love to hear back from what anybody thought. Great timing because my puppy just woke up, so I hear him whining. Need to go deal with that. Thanks again for watching another episode. I hope that the audio really has improved because it was awful before. All right, well, new episodes every Wednesday, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Link is in my bio. Check out the different ways to listen, to watch, and thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon.